So Drag Race does know how to judge in pairs, just chooses not to when it's not convenient. Hi, hello everyone, my name is Jer, and you can't seriously expect me to believe that a shrimp fried this rice. Well, here we go. Love pink. That's strong. Oh my god. Today we are talking about Drag Race All-Stars Season 11, Episode 4, Duets. It Takes Two. The pink bracket of All-Stars 11 is going about as expected, but I do gotta say, Selena was robbed. For the first challenge of this year's pink bracket, the queens are tasked with a performance challenge in duets. I don't think this challenge needed to be a duet challenge. I think it could have been solos. I think they easily could have done this for challenge 3. When we are first introduced to a queen on a regular season of Drag Race or in All-Stars, the kindest way to introduce them to the world is by allowing them to show their own merit separate of anybody else and present their brand authentically themselves. And some of these queens like Vivacious we haven't seen on Drag Race in over a decade. And to pair them up on their first challenge doesn't allow them to showcase their own merit. They are tied to someone else's progress. Much like last year's purple bracket with Ginger Minj, the pair challenge was designed to protect her. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Ginger is not a good designer or seamstress, but she's a good storyteller. So they swung in a storytelling element and then paired her up with someone in a room of people who knew how to make garments, knowing that no matter how the chips fell, someone else was going to design a look that was good enough that they could put high, and they could reward Ginger's storytelling. The mechanisms that Drag Race uses to protect certain contestants are sometimes more obvious than others. And this year, Drag Race has done the exact same thing, but they swapped it into pink bracket instead. I think the same reason why they did a pairs challenge last year to protect Ginger is the exact same reason that they made a pairs challenge as the introductory one for their contestant that they want to move forward, and I think that person is Crystal Method. Crystal is a fabulous visual artist. She's connected with a lot of fans because they love how quirky and authentic and silly she is, but she's not traditionally known as a performer. And I think they put a pairs challenge as this introductory one specifically to make sure that she would be able to get some points. But the thing that I always wonder is, if the judges are going to favor whoever they're going to favor for whatever reason, as they do every single All-Stars, then why build a challenge specifically to protect them? They don't need to. They're going to do what they want to do with the edit in order to push their favorite. And so I'm guessing that this pairs challenge was designed to make it look a little more fair. And I think that was evident during the rehearsals where April was struggling with her vocals, but got a heavy coaching session in the edit. But Crystal sounded just as unpolished, and they kind of glazed over it and laughed it off, like, oh my god, you're so funny. A lot of people online are saying that April sounded bad in the challenge, but Crystal also sounded bad. It's just forgiven because people like her. And I think it doubles down on what a lot of people perceive as a mistake from season 15. A lot of people look at Aura Mayori's girl group win and don't think that was valid. They think it should have gone to a lot of different people. And so this episode kind of doubles down that they made the right decision the first time, that Aura is a good singer, that she is a good performer, that she deserved her girl group win because look at her performing here now. And there were a couple other clues throughout the episode that implied to me that Crystal is their golden egg this year, and that is the person that they will be favoring. Anyways, next page. The queens are given the option of 3 genres to perform it: a rap song, an R&B ballad, and a more theatrical song. And later on, the runway category is You Butter Ask Somebody, which does lead me to wonder, was this just a color prompt theme similar to Fuchsia, I Hardly Know Her, Yellow Gorgeous, Red for Filth? Because it seemed like they were more encouraged to use the color palette of Butter rather than the actual inspiration of, even if some queens did lean into the Butter inspiration. A Butter runway prompt is the most fabulously American thing I have ever heard in my life. Before I get into critiquing of the episode, as well as my own personal rankings, I want to say I feel like it was a colossal waste of time to include Renee Rapp here in this episode when they didn't even use her songs. Drag Race goes out of its way to include music of guest judges like Benny Blanco and Dove Cameron, who have great music but didn't need to have their songs spotlighted. And for a duet challenge, Renee Rapp has a fantastic duet with Megan Thee Stallion. And she even referenced "On Wednesdays We Wear Butter." And there were a couple other Mean Girls references in the episode, so I thought, oh my god, we're gonna get Not My Fault, I'm so excited. Only to whip out a classic song, which was great, but why didn't they use one of Renee's songs? I'm sure that Not My Fault was licensable. I don't get it. My guess is that they didn't think Crystal would be able to beat someone like Aura in a song like Not My Fault, which is a pussy pop of a number, and so they lobbed something that was a little easier and more in her wheelhouse so that they could give her those points early and secure a spot in the second round. So let's get into my rankings, where my bottom position was really difficult. Silky and Vivacious were like bring your auntie to work day. They had a lot of stiff performance, and they also had fabulous looks on the runway. Whereas Crystal and Aura, I think, had great stage presence, great blocking, but their problems were more about the lines and the vocals. We'll get into that, and I think their runways were pretty decent. So I had to get down and dirty into the numbers and the stats and figuring out how I would rank all four of them vocally, performance-wise, look on the runway, and then accumulate all those scores together, and that's how I came up with who was in my top and who was in my bottom. In my sixth position, Silky Nutmeg Ganache. I love that every single one of Silky's entrance looks have been blue. That is great branding. She understands what she wants to serve to Drag Race. I've been grinding my axe all night towards season 6, but also madder than a hornet at this feud between Paramount and Crave, which is utter bullshit over Drag Race rights. There are a lot of videos that have talked in depth about this. All of the Canada's Drag Race versus the World material got cut. And you can tell that Silky was talking about her run in versus the World, but it all got cut. There was a huge segment where they were discussing her journey and going back to Drag Race, and it made this weird jump cut to a different part of the conversation that I could fill in the blanks. She was talking about being up in Canada. Silky's entire storyline this week is undercut by the very simple fact that she did all of this personal work on Canada versus the World. So her having to rehash it when I think she just wants to compete, I don't think was on her vision board. I enjoyed her a lot this week, but I hated that cringy confessional puppet. Mama, put that away. Her stance in the decision process of who would get what songs gave me life, because she basically said, if I say I'm a star, I'm gonna be a star no matter what I do. And I think she met that expectation. The song HBF is all about lifting up your sisters. More of Silky's storyline that she's already done on Drag Race, of being there locked in the competition and being authentically herself, but also making space for others to shine with her. And she wore an outfit very similar to what she wore on Canada's Drag Race in the Your Daddy Don't Know lip sync with Victoria. And as someone with immense amounts of Drag Race brain rot, I loved her references to her past seasons, because when she got ready for the lip sync later, she brought out her Freakazoid lip sync outfit. In the challenge, I liked her energy, but I hated those silver shoes, and I wish that she had maybe a pony or something because the hair kept getting in her face. I'm guessing they didn't practice with wigs and with the fan on at the same time, and so I just don't think she was prepared for that. I liked her performance in a song that was significantly hokier to the other two. The others were fierce, and theirs was kind of dumb. But I think that she had great energy, and she sounded good, and she committed to the dancing, even if it wasn't perfect 100% of the time. They weren't afraid to go for it. And on the runway, I love the high camp of her reveal. I love how custom that bodysuit is. It was stoned to absolute death. This is not a piece that would have just existed in her closet. This was something that she had to make for Drag Race. And I love when queens commit fully to the bit. I did wish that the headpiece had come off or something, because her having to support it and keep holding it like a newborn's head was, I think, a little distracting. I wanted that arm to come down. It is a slay though. In my fifth position is Mother Vivacious, who entered the competition in this Ornacia Extravaganza. Oh, this was fierce. A lot of people online are talking about how they didn't think that Vivacious would be able to turn it so severely. And girl, I have been grinding my axe all night. This is due to a narrative that season 6 pushed, that Vivacious was unable to keep up with the youngins, that she was caught in the past. This is why season 6 pisses me off so bad, because the narratives around all those queens were awful. The bulk of the B-roll that they had for Vivacious is that she wasn't giving modernity in her original run. In modern Drag Race, they eat this kind of performer up because they've moved on from this BS narrative that the old seasons used to cling really tight to for what they expected their finely manicured version of what drag looked like on the show. And it makes me so upset that at any point in her career, Vivacious felt like she wasn't keeping up with the young folks, and that she had to come back and make her drag even more glam in order to catch the attention of the judges. Club kids deserve respect for their artistry, and Vivacious is here to give it to y'all, and everybody's surprised because the show fed them a narrative that Vivacious couldn't do that. But she can. She was paired up with Silky Nutmeg Ganache after a little squabble over who was going to get the song with her. They get the song HBF, the duo we didn't know we needed. Say what you will about the stiffness of their dancing, and I will get into that. Vivacious looked pussy in this look. The only woman on earth. Her vocals were a tad bit chopped, but she was fun to watch from beginning to end. Her energy was very much the vibe of, I'm someone's auntie, I'm here at Drag Race to get the most sickening makeover of my entire life. I can't really walk on the runway, but I'm here to give it, because I want her to win. During the creative portion, it was revealed that Vivacious had reached out to Silky during the airing of season 11 and had mentored her through some of the hate that was coming her way. And it pisses me off so bad that y'all go online and bully these people. Silky talked about how she blocked a lot of folks and would just go through threads and block people who were also liking mean things about her, and I think that's a good way to protect your mental health when you're in a public eye. I think their camaraderie was apparent in the performance. Both groups had entire choruses that were a femme voice mixed with little bits of their own. The chorus was pre-recorded and they sprinkled in a little bit of the queen's vocals over that. Whereas with Silky and Vivacious, they had the biggest challenge and the greatest hurdle, which is their backing track was practically non-existent. There was a soft harmonizing voice underneath both of them, but the two of them were the bulk of the lyrics. And when you're gonna judge a team's challenge, everyone needs to be on equal footing. And if you're not on equal footing, whoever had the harder challenge needs to be given a little more grace. Because a lot of folks are judging their vocals pretty harshly, not just their dancing. They're judging the fact that the song didn't sound great, but their song was them. The other two songs, I would say 40% of the number was not the other queen's voices. It was a backtrack voice. And Silky and Vivacious are practically the sole credit on this song. So that automatically puts them several ticks in the vocal department above both other groups. Now, the problem is the choreography, because they were not cheating at all by posing and just kind of moving around. They didn't really allow themselves any park and bark opportunities. They went in on dancing. And on the runway, oh my glob, Vivacious is serving this futuristic butter alien, a phrase I never thought I would have to say out loud, not in my wildest dreams. The look is giving melted butter with the texture of that fabric, so mission accomplished. I love that this appears at first glance like a high fashion gown moment, something you would see at the Met, but it's gauchos! I'm obsessed. Gauchos? Come on! Vivacious had the highest marks on the runway for me, like she was my number one visually on the runway. But her performance dragged her down because it was stiff and she doesn't really know how to get that constipated look off her face when she's dancing and lip syncing. The style lines of this look are immaculate. Mother came to serve. It is drama. It is church conductor. It is fabulous. Max Slay. In my fourth position, Breathe. Okay? Breathe is Crystal Method, the resident rhythm of the night. Crystal is very well liked and enjoyed by the Drag Race community, and I'm assuming that y'all are going to take it as a personal attack that I put her low, but there's a lot of reasons why I put her down here. I think that her looks are fabulous. I think that she's very fun. She entered in this bold avant-garde look that I recognize from the Hispanic Heritage campaign that they did, like a year ago, which I am not even complaining about that. I think it's a great look. I'm glad to see more of it and from more angles. She was talking about her original run in season 12, that she was a little rough around the edges, a little unpolished, and it got me giggling because she showed up on season 12 and then Daya showed up on season 14. But then for All Stars, they flipped and Daya showed up on All Stars first and then Crystal. In the performance, she had this line that I am deeply passionate about, Big balls, nice and tall. A lot can be forgiven in a man if he's got some low hangers. Crystal has a lot of confidence and a lot of charisma. There is no doubt or argument about that. It is undeniable that she just has this thing about her that makes you like her. I would not listen to this song ever again. And I think that has a lot to do with the song, but also I just didn't really care too much about the lyrics. I think they were very smart to make the bulk of their choreography and blocking, posing, and having the pit crew move them around one side of the stage to the other, and holding off on the dancing until the very end where they busted out a couple of really good, clean moves. Crystal and Aura did great when they actually got to dancing. I think it is smart to play to their strengths, specifically Crystal's, that she's not much of a dancer. And so they had her just pose and flip her legs around and move her arms rhythmically. And I think that's smart. You don't have to do everything all the time. And on the runway, Crystal went super literal with the butter theme. It was a fun look. I enjoy how she punched that color palette in the jaw and said, "This is mine, bitch."
Oh, wait a minute.
I love that waxy sleeve that the butter sticks always have, and she has in that stylized graphic blue font in the back. Crystal creamery, extremely cute details there. The makeup is the most impressive part because she committed to that full yellow colorful effect, even going to the back of the head, and she got inside the ears, which is often missed out by drag queens when they do colorful mugs. They will not get in here, and you have to get into all these crevices. Overall, it's a simple but effective look. I like it a lot. You could tell what it's supposed to be. Slay. Crystal is playing her cards very close to her chest. She is not interested in the social dynamics whatsoever, and in her defense, to be completely fair, if I went on a reality show and the executive producer loved me, and the said executive producer also paid out the nose likely for licensing to use an El DeBarge theme song for any time that I appeared on camera, if I was in the middle of a challenge and Dino Daddy Jeff Goldblum, who had not interacted with Rue up until that point, that we saw on camera to hear the words that she looked like El DeBarge, and he called her El DeBarge in the political challenge, unprompted, that we saw, it was probably prompted behind camera, I wouldn't be stressed either. I don't need to involve myself with anyone because they like me. I think it's the exact same reason why Georges felt emboldened to just do whatever the hell she wanted in her season. It's why Ginger kind of just did whatever the hell she wanted. Certain queens come back for All Stars and they know that they're liked. That's not shade to Crystal, it's just reality. In my third position is Aura. She entered the competition in this crazy cool, upcycled black jacket that was super reminiscent of her original entrance look, which I love. It's fierce as f. And she says she's embracing her inner cringe, which, me too. And I love that for her. She was cringy her first time around, and I think that it's important for any entertainer to recognize, I'm cringe. I've got to be. No matter what anybody says, cringe is endearing. I love seeing her confidence grow on the show because she lacked a lot of that the first time around. She's got this air of freedom about her, which I'm very much connecting to. Her original edit was kind of non-existent, as most of the season 15 girls didn't get featured very much because the fake gay best friends of West Hollywood was airing, and so that cucked the original airing of season 15. And when they eventually went through and expanded the edit to the longer episodes, I still think that Aura kind of got lost in the sauce. So she didn't have much of a narrative coming in other than people thought she had a bogus girl group win. And so I think this time around she's sort of just trying to remind people who she is. She chooses the song Hoes Before Bros. I love that the Drag Race writers for this song were like, we're gonna reclaim what is widely understood as an extremely misogynistic term because we're gay and gay people can't possibly fall into the same trap of hating women like straight people do. Was anyone else getting the All Stars 1 Good versus Evil melody mixed with a little bit of I'm Still That Bitch?
Wait a minute, bitches.
In my humblest opinion, I think the number was doing all the work for them because it is a banger. And I'll get into it shortly why that small detail pushed Silky and Vivacious just a couple points above them. Hang tight. For me, Aura sounded great in her tone. I can't hit those notes, oh, but at all. and I think she has great pitch. She had a nice vibrato. Everything sounded smooth. But as a fellow diva who also struggles with enunciation, and I oftentimes mumble words and I create sounds that are not actually in a phrase, or I cut out consonants and vowels in order to shorten whatever I'm saying, Aura was mush-mouthing hard. I understood virtually none of the words that were coming out of her mouth because a lot of it to me was kind of incomprehensible. I had to listen to the song 2 or 3 times just to hear some of the lyrics. And also she rolled an R on the word ain't, which, like, fierce diva, put letters wherever you want, but like, how did that get there? Her look was sickening in the challenge. I love that strappy, cable, harnessy look that is super in fashion with the queens right now. We saw a lot of the girls in the promo with this type of look. And then on the runway, Aura says that she's serving maybe the 50s, maybe the 60s. The designer picked a date. I didn't know what it was either, so I'm gonna throw a dart in a direction of a decade and hope that it lands somewhere. I enjoy how delicate her walk was, and the presentation was very soft. You can tell it holds meaning to her even if she had absolutely no clue what year this was supposed to exist in. I like the asymmetry of it all. The styling detail of that umbrella was a great choice, and I loved that sleeve. It's a slay of a look. I enjoy that she is embracing her Filipina heritage. In my second position is April Carrión, fresh from the department of Body Yaddy Yaddy. She walked into this place looking an absolute goddess. I want to rant about season 6 again because my axe has been grinded all night. I am still pissed off about the narrative that so many of those queens got about giving boy or giving butch, and that April at any point in her career felt that she wasn't femme enough. She even addresses that back in the day she was a little more androgynous and the judges didn't connect with that, but she's here now and she's gonna serve it to you. Drag is not about looking like a woman all the time. It used to be on Drag Race, but it's not that anymore. And so that whole masculine narrative of season 6 still pisses me off that continues to haunt her to this day, and she's trying to break out of that narrative. I joke about people serving femme or being womana or being the only woman on earth, but drag is not just about serving Pussy Jones glam. Every single bit of drag is valid as long as it's good. Next page. April fought extremely hard for a role that was heavy on singing when she herself is not a good singer. Being a good singer doesn't matter on Drag Race because they've got enough tools to make you sound decent. And also Crystal didn't sound good. She is getting my award for the queen that's doing way too much. I don't think it was necessary for her to read Silky and say that she thought she was annoying her first time around. And I doubly don't think that the editor should have even bothered keeping that in the edit at all, because all that's gonna do is open up floodgates for people to go and bully Silky. That will give fans permission to then say, oh yeah, I thought you were annoying too. And that's just rude, it's immature, it's disrespectful. I don't think April's intention was to be mean, but I don't think the edit should have retained that. They should have just kept that to itself. In the performance, April is working with Selena, who you could tell was getting agitated by how much April was not locking in. In my honest opinion, I think that when Rue announced that only 2 queens were going to the next round, you could see April's soul shatter into a bunch of tiny pieces. You could see that she just was not in it. I think she knew in that moment, okay, it's not here for me, so let's just have a key with these 7 or 8 days that I'm locked on this soundstage. She was very fun in the challenge, and that's all you really can do on Drag Race, is have fun and hope that the judges like it. And I think she was successful in doing so. She and Selena looked incredible in these jewel tone looks. April's line, with a face like that, you can only do it doggy. I'm stealing that was fierce. For all the drama that she had reworking her lines, I thought she sounded amazing. And maybe I'm crazy, but I did not hear what Rue was talking about with her pushing her vocals too much. I didn't get that at all. Their movement was tight from the jump. My jaw dropped to the floor because it was so sickening. The song was giving me The Boy Is Mine vibes, and I love that. And I will say too, as someone who's incredibly thirsty all the time, there were 2 fine-ass, sexy, unclothed men on that stage, and I was barely looking at them because I just kept looking at Selena and April. And when I can ignore hot boys on a stage and look at drag queens, that's when you know that you have good performance skills, and the 2 of them did. Plus, they got the biggest reaction from Rue. How do you go from having this reaction and not winning when the team that won got this reaction? I still don't get why they didn't win. And it's rich for someone like RuPaul, Rue of all people, to critique someone's tone and pitch. Jokes. On the runway, April is giving a traditional Puerto Rican bomba dance, and a character named Un Vejigante. I love this color on her. She looks rich and delicious in it. The colorful jewels piping the look is so hot. She says it's a marriage of Puerto Rican culture and queerness, and later explains that this dance is not very queer friendly. So I appreciate that she reclaimed that and made it hers. That's important to do in spaces that we do not exist or belong in, to find ways to connect with that somehow. The drape on that sleeve is amazing. It's an effective look while taking inspiration from the color of butter without being too literal. It's a super slay. And in my number one spot this week is Selena Estides. She came out sauntering on that stage looking huss in that big blonde hair. You couldn't clock anything. I thought it was Nikki Dollop on that stage. She looked gorgeous. She has this freedom about her this time that is so noticeable. You can tell that the twist got her together because she was fighting hard for that top 2 spot, and they played directly in her face by not giving it to her. Last week they judged the groups separately because it was convenient for them to not put Morphine high, and this week they just forgot that they can do that because they didn't want Selena high. They don't want to lock her in for any advantage in the next round. She was the best of the night, easily. Argue with a wall. In the challenge for Dreamin' of Me, oh my god, she looked amazing in this jewel tone yellow, first of all. I loved the blocking, the choreography. They nailed and incorporated this great 90s energy. They were seriously so hot. They killed this so hard, Jesus Christ. I have very little to say, except these divas did the damn thing. And I am madder than a woman with an expired coupon at Michael's craft store who got the police called on them because she was causing a ruckus in line. She should have won this challenge. And on the runway, Selena was inspired by the color of butter rather than doing something super literal. The look is a dedication to her mother. She's giving glam. She's giving fashion. I love the crescent moon hair. Her presentation is soft and delicate. I enjoy the shape of this glam dress after her entire narrative in season 15 was that her looks were busted. And they were. She came in with one goal, and that was to return that golden boot and prove that she is more than that narrative, and I think she accomplished that. No additional notes, max slay. And I will say, everybody on the runway turned it out this week. Usually there's at least one queen that's a little bit of the fool. No one was the booger. Rue calls Crystal and Aura as the top 2. I do not share the same opinion, but I was going into this bracket fully understanding that Crystal was the Georges of this group. They lip synced to No More Tears, Enough is Enough. I still think it should have been Not My Fault. I think it was a fun lip sync song, but I would have loved if this was a lip sync for your life number and not a top 2, because it felt like there was a little more of desperation in the number rather than a triumphant, we're just here to have a good time and give you a cool show, like a lot of the other top 2 lip syncs tend to be. Crystal was kind of hokey pokey for me. The floppy arm and legs I think were funny, but I wasn't like gooning over it or anything. She had a few good moments compared to Aura, who I think was doing a little too much for me. Crystal is called as the winner, and the other queens are told about the MBQ points that they'll have to give out next week. In my opinion, I still would love to see these MBQ points be given out right after the runway, or if not right there on the stage, so that they have no time to think about it. And then the fallout of what they choose and the decisions they make is what we are then left hanging on to for the following week. I think that would create a little more tension and stakes. You can tell immediately that Silky is in her head, and this is either going to make her get in her own way, or she's going to thrive and soar into the next challenge. The intersectionality of this bracket has been interesting to see, the way that these seasons have crossed over, the relationships that have forged across time between some of these contestants. I'm very much looking forward to the social dynamics of this group, even if I'm not really living for what is very clearly overproduction, because I have no delusions that anyone but Crystal and Silky will move on to the next round. Who are you rooting for in this bracket, and who won this challenge for y'all? Next week is a how-to video challenge, which I'm assuming is going to be very high on branding as well as humor. And so I have a good idea of who I think is going to do well, and I have others like April that I just don't think are going to connect with this type of challenge. And I'm very much getting the vibe that Vivacious is gonna be a mother hen of this group and is gonna be more interested in supporting the others' progress rather than worrying about herself, similar to an Acid Betty last year. Feel free to check out the Patreon and the Extravaganza Extra membership if you'd like to support this channel in a different way. Thank you for watching, and I will see y'all on the flip.